It's a bit like being a boxing promoter or a music promoter. You are getting an act, putting on a show, and selling tickets to the show, essentially. So by some significant margin, the biggest financial risk we take is promoting the Formula One British Grand Prix annually. So we commit to a contract for a number of years to pay Formula One a sum of money, which is fairly eye-watering, for them to bring the Formula One World Championship to Silverstone, and then we sell tickets to the Great British fan base. I say Great British because it is almost exclusively British, actually. One area that we've really got to work on over the next few years is to try and get more overseas visitors, even in a non-COVID year. And that's been at the forefront of my mind for the last couple of years. We're typically only 2 or 3% overseas visitors. So we got to sell tickets. So that's about marketing. It's about selling. It's about creating the interest in the atmosphere. It's about working with the commercial rights holder, Formula One, about their broadcast partners. And so terribly important nowadays is the way that the media is consumed outside traditional television and broadcast. So online, social, it's about creating a buzz. You don't need a knowledge or a passion of motorsport per se, although I suspect that the vast majority of people doing your course will have that passion because this is a significant personal commitment to go on and do a master's in it. But actually, what you really need. I mean, it helps. Unquestionably, it helps. But you need a passion for the live events business, and you need a passion for the customer, and putting that smile on people's faces. The reality is that for most of us working here at Silverstone, our life is much more about car parks and lavatories than it is about champagne and private jets and the glamour of motorsport. And motorsport is not, in my experience of it, particularly glamorous. So any live events business, you've got to get there before the customers turn up, and you've got to turn the lights out after they've left. So it's hard graft. Don't get into this business. If you want a straightforward life, go and do a 9-to-5 job. But it's terribly exciting. It's terribly rewarding. You work with some great people. I often grab some of the younger members of our team, and actually I'm annoyed that I didn't do this. It's the first year for a long time I haven't, but I normally just grab 1 or 2 of them and say, see these people in these grandstands out here. Every single one of those people would swap places with you and I. They are looking at out of that grandstand saying, God, how do I get a job like that? How can I work there? How can I, be in that person's shoes? And we are so lucky to do something as interesting as this. We could work in a widget factory or sell photocopiers or, something that sounds terribly dull to me. But actually, we're in the business of creating memories. I would just say determination. I would say you've got to absolutely strive for the best, but not fall into the trap of being a total perfectionist all of the time. If you allow perfection to be the enemy of the good, you'll beat yourself up, because in a live events environment, sometimes you just have to accept that things don't quite go the way that you want, but actually probably only you'll see that the fact that you're 5% off what you'd hope to achieve. But certainly having high standards is important, but being a team player, being dynamic, being a people person. If you're a leader, my goodness me, you've got your work cut out sometimes. We have a plethora of leaders throughout our organisation, and they're always having to pick people up, take them on the journey, say, come on, we can do this. I know you're knackered, I know your feet hurt, I know you're tired, I know that person's just shouted at you, I know that the bin lorry that you booked to be here at this time hasn't arrived, and you're now having to move an awful lot of rubbish, but come on, let's just get it done. So, it's about being a focused team player. Well, it's always cash flow. Cash flow. If you remember only one thing from your time on your master's course, it's about how much money you've got in your bank at any one time, and there's a cycle. And there are things that turn up in life, like the COVID-19 pandemic, that you just didn't have on your radar. I'm very focused here at Silverstone on diversifying our business. We've got a wonderful brand and we've built a wonderful history over 70 years plus, based around motor racing and Formula One. And I always want that to be our defining brand element. But I won't need to use these enormous assets far more widely than just purely for motor racing. To get the balance within motorsport of the technical regulations, because it is a science-led sport, and we've got to inspire the engineers, and you've got to have that competition which starts when the regulations arrive in the office in tray. But actually, you've also got to have the unpredictability. In Great Britain, in the Premier League football, we had Leicester City underdogs win the Premier League a few years ago, and actually, you've got to have a Leicester City moment in motorsport as well. You've got to have the chance that the underdog can have their day if everything goes right. Of course, you're always going to have the big dogs dominating, but the underdog's also got to have a chance. So it's tricky. It's not predictable. It's not formulaic, and it's a challenge as a promoter. So it's a combination of all of these things. But I would 100% applaud the students on your course for having the bottle to go for, the commitment that a master's is, both financially and personally from a work point of view, and making that career decision. I have thoroughly enjoyed 21 years in motorsport. I did something totally different before I got involved, and I've not regretted at all turning my hobby into my day job, and it makes getting out of bed a whole lot easier in the morning. So go for it, I'd say.